My topic is radio advertising in detail explained, and let's go to the topic and let's go to the start. Radio advertising is the practice of purchasing ad spots on popular radio stations to promote your products and services. Businesses like yours pay for every second of airtime, and the station broadcasts your radio commercials to its audience. The radio advertising definition covers all forms of radio, including traditional and internet radio stations. There are also numerous types of ads for radio stations to consider. Implementing the best advertising strategy for radio will help you extract the most value from your initial investment. Radio ads have less overhead than TV or social media video ads because they only require a voiceover to complete the commercial. Radio advertising typically takes the form of commercials between segments or sponsored, featured daily or weekly segments. Radio ads also require frequency, as typically a company will run at least 24 ads in a given radio-based campaign. Radio advertising remains a cost-effective solution for reaching large audiences, exposing them to your brand and your products, services, or offers. Typically, radio stations are keenly aware of their listener demographics, giving you options to reach targeted, specific ages/genders with your advertising efforts. Radio advertising means any form of radio announcement broadcast in return for payment or for similar consideration or for self-promotional purposes by a public or private undertaking or natural person in connection with a trade, business, craft or profession in order to promote the supply of goods or services, including immovable property, rights and obligations, in return for payment. Targeted advertising means presenting an advertisement to a student where the selection of the advertisement is based on student information, student records or student-generated content or inferred over time from the usage of the provider's website, online service or mobile application by such student or the retention of such students' online activities or requests over time. Political advertising means a communication supporting or opposing a candidate for nomination or election to a public office or office of a political party, a public officer, or a measure that. Advertising means the planning, creating, or placing of advertising in newspapers, magazines. Television means a system for transmitting visual images and sound that are reproduced on screens, and includes broadcast, cable, on-demand, satellite, or internet programming. Television includes any video programming downloaded or streamed via the internet. Marketing means any communication from a PHP to a potential member who is not enrolled in the PHP that can reasonably be interpreted as intended to compel or entice the potential members to enroll in that particular PHP. Direct marketing means to approach a data subject, either in person or by mail or electronic communication, for the direct or indirect purpose of. Advertisement means a notice that is broadcast or to the general public or specific market segments about your goods, products or services for the purpose of attracting customers or supporters for the purposes of this definition. Promotion means a change from an employee's position to one with a higher maximum salary level. Radio advertising is a fantastic way to grow your business, increase your brand awareness and generate sales. If you are interested in finding out the fundamentals to radio advertising, and learn ways to conquer common challenges such as how to choose the correct station, the costs involved, which radio advertising formats will suit your brand or how to simply begin the process, we've got you covered. In this guide to radio advertising, we are going to equip you with information that will ensure you cover all the bases to ensure success in your radio advertising journey. Radio advertising is buying commercials to promote products or services. Advertisers pay commercial radio stations for airtime and, in exchange, the radio station broadcasts the advertiser's commercial to its listening audience. As a business owner, how can you take advantage of radio advertising? How do you get your target audience to hear your radio ad message and follow a certain call to action? In radio advertising, there are numerous types of commercials that an advertiser can choose, similar to how brands might pursue different print advertising options, newspaper versus magazine, for example, or online advertising options, email versus social media. Let's take a look at a few of the more popular types of radio advertisements. Radio live reads. A live read is when the radio personality/DJ reads out your advert live on air. Listeners are already familiar with the radio personality's voice and they are more likely to engage with the advert. Live reads also help your brand stand out from the rest, shining a spotlight on your message. Radio sponsorships. This type of ad is for those that are looking for a subtle approach to their radio advert. You can choose to sponsor news, competitions, sports, traffic or any of the regular programming on that particular radio station. Let's look at some advantages of sponsored adverts. Engagement. The main advantage with a sponsorship advert is the high engagement, especially when it's a sponsored competition where listeners are encouraged to call in to partake and stand a chance of winning cash prizes or other forms of rewards. Reach. Sponsored ads air first in the commercial break in most cases, which means your advert will reach more listeners before they switch stations. But it isn't often that people change stations, as most listeners tend to be loyal to a particular station. Radio jingles. Case in point of how a great jingle stays memorable and the listener can easily identify what the brand is. The fact that you read that with your eyes and your mind played the jingle in your head based on memory is just amazing, wouldn't you agree? That connection between music and memory is almost guaranteed, which is why most people gravitate toward this type of radio advert. Ever notice how even the annoying jingles just get stuck in your head and you find yourself humming or singing it throughout the day? The power of radio advertising. Radio testimonials. There is something reassuring about hearing other people's experiences with a particular product or service. Testimonial adverts are exactly that, people giving a real-life account of how they found your product or service. As humans, we feel more comfortable trying something new if someone else has tried it before, because in our minds we know that advertisements are made with the sole intention to make something appealing for you to buy into it. Using testimonial adverts makes the audience more receptive and adds credibility for the brand. Personified commercial. Like storytelling, you want the listener to create the whole picture in their minds, get their imagination working. Adding characters that are relatable helps them connect with the story and makes them want to find out what happens next, which means they will have to stay tuned in. Example, a couple is on a road trip, they pull up to a McDonald's drive-thru and they are discussing what they will order. The voiceover artists need to deliver perfectly on the execution, in order for this type of advert to be effective. Straight read. This type of radio advertisement usually focuses on the advantages of the brand that is advertising, important information such as how listeners can get in touch with you, address or email or phone details, and is generally in a monologue format. A radio advertisement is a type of commercial created for the radio broadcasting medium. Typically 30 to 60 seconds long, radio advertisements often rely on memorable audio cues, such as jingles or catchphrases, to grab audience attention. With a low production cost and the ability to target specific demographics through station selection, a radio advertisement can be an excellent way to get the word out about a product or companion. Radio advertisement needs to be able to grab people's attention away from other pursuits. Since people tend to listen to the radio while they are driving, in line, or in a waiting room, radio advertisements need to be catchy enough to draw attention away from the listener's main activity. A memorable jingle, or short song, may be used in a radio advertisement for this purpose. Jingles are typically very easy to remember and contain references to the product or company involved in the advertisement. One other element often used in a radio advertisement is a dialogue-heavy script. Whereas TV commercials tend to rely on visuals to catch the watcher's attention, a radio advertisement must use wit, memorable lines, or catchphrases to draw the interest of a listener. Radio scripts often take the form of conversations between two people that reference the product or company being advertised. Slogans are often worked into the dialogue, so the listener draws a subconscious connection between the slogan and the product. Commercial radio stations make most of their revenue by selling airtime to be used for running radio advertisements. These advertisements are the result of a business or a service providing a valuable consideration, usually money, in exchange for the station airing their commercial or mentioning them on air. The most common advertisements are spot commercials, which normally last for no more than 1 minute. and longer programs, commonly running up to 1 hour, known as infomercials. Just like advertisers pay for the commercials you see on television during your favorite show, some advertisers also choose to focus their marketing dollars on radio advertising. That is, buying commercials, frequently called spots in the radio industry, to promote their products or services. Advertisers pay commercial radio stations for airtime and, in exchange, the radio station broadcasts the advertiser's commercial to its listening audience. In radio advertising, there are numerous types of commercials that an advertiser might employ, similar to how brands might pursue different print advertising options, newspaper versus magazine, for example, or electronic advertising options, email versus social media. Live-read. The ESPN radio show Mike and Mike is a good example of a format where you can hear commercials read in real time online by a radio announcer, a type of commercial also known as a live read. This type of advertisement is more effective with a really popular on-air host because advertisers hope that the host's voice will carry extra weight with the show's audience. Sponsorship. Many radio stations implement sponsorships for certain types of radio segments, such as traffic, weather, or sports scores during halftime of the big game. It will generally sound something like this: "This hour's weather update brought to you by Beach Rentals. Call Beach Rentals for all of your vacation needs." Produced spot. A produced spot can either be a straight read of your advertising message or a read that incorporates multiple voices, sound effects, or a jingle. A jingle is a short, catchy song about your company. These typically tell listeners where to find your business or your products and can be funny, serious, or informative. Live reads are the simplest form of ad. You'll most commonly find live reads on popular podcasts, where the host/personality reads out your ad. The advantage is your audience will already be familiar with their host's voice. If you want to stand out from others, a live read is an excellent way to do it. Not everyone wants a straight radio ad. An alternative is the sponsorship ad. These work in the same way as conventional sponsorships. Used for reach or engagement, sponsorships may involve sponsoring a traffic or weather segment. You could also sponsor competitions or sports results. Jingles are highly memorable because they stick in the memory. Think of the McDonald's jingle as an example. People know it across the world almost as much as the distinctive yellow arches. The connection between memory and music has been studied countless times, particularly how sounds evoke emotion. Hearing someone else's views on a product or service can encourage people to buy. Testimonial radio ads use a real person to run through their experience with your business's offering. Using testimonials enhances your brand's credibility and improves the chances of people trusting your brand. If you already have testimonials in written form, you could transform them into powerful audio testimonials with AI voiceover. Keep the new testimonials coming in with a testimonial collection tool like TrustMary, and repurpose them in radio advertising. To create a truly memorable commercial, you need to get the minds of your audience churning. Adding characters with distinct voices to tell your brand's story is an easy way to engage your audience. After all, personality sells. Telling someone to buy a product is one thing. Telling a story that ends with a character buying a product is quite another. The straight read advertisement focuses on the unique selling points of your brand and how to get in touch with you. These are delivered in a monologue format and aim to disseminate pieces of hard information. If you cannot afford to leave any room for confusion or misunderstanding, the straight read could be the best advertisement on the radio. Selective targeting. Drill down into your target audience with selective targeting. Genres, hosts, and the time of day all play into figuring out when your ideal customer will most likely be listening. High-frequency ads repeat a message multiple times on the radio to help ingrain it into your listener. Radio is one of the most straightforward formats to utilize high-frequency messaging. More memorable, audio remains in the memory much longer than visuals. Sound also has the power to evoke emotion, which further reinforces memory. Cost-effective ads for radio stations are simpler to invest in and deliver a superior ROI to print and TV advertising. Short creation cycles. Bring your ads to life in a matter of minutes. It doesn't take long to go from concept to hearing your completed ad on the radio. Lack of visuals. Sadly, you have no access to visuals on the radio. However, sound is considered more memorable than visuals. Challenging spot buys. More popular radio stations may have spots booked up well in advance. It can sometimes make it difficult to find an opening. Poor attentiveness. The chances are many listeners will be simply cycling through channels. As a result, it can be difficult to grab their attention. Consider your audience. Who are you looking to target? Find the right radio stations for you. You will need to figure out what music your target demographic listens to, when they are listening, and the things that trigger them. How much do you want to invest? Radio stations sell spots in 15-second increments. The time of day will also influence your costs, with rush hour ads costing considerably more. Determine your preferred ad type. Your choice is mainly dependent on what you want to accomplish. Write your ad copy. Employ the services of an expert content marketer to get the most from your message. Create your ad in minutes. Platforms like Well Said provide you with realistic sounding voices to help you connect with your audience. Reach out. Most radio stations have specific details for their advertisers. Radio is trustworthy. Listeners develop a bond with these radio personalities. They are with them in the mornings on their commute to work, and in the evenings on their way home from a long day. They become that trusty companion, and taking advantage of this through advertising can bring great results for a brand. As a business owner, you might be planning your new marketing strategy and looking for ways in which to increase your brand awareness and sales. Traditional methods of advertising have started to be overlooked due to common misconceptions. Fortunately, we are able to advise on why you should look at radio advertising to achieve your advertising goals. Radio advertising makes your business memorable. Due to the frequency of a radio ad playing a number of times throughout the day, week, or month, the ad becomes memorable to the listener, and results in your business being top of mind. Radio ads give your business a personality. Radio ads use one sense, the sense of hearing, which means the listeners have to use their imagination to create a picture of what they are hearing. The better your script is, the easier it becomes for the listener to see the story in their minds and see the personality of your brand in that story. Results in action. Radio advertising continues to prove an excellent medium for reaching audiences through its high penetration levels and repetition, and because radio ads have a high call to action, they generate excellent consumer recall. Cost-effective. Considering the lower investment cost when compared to TV and print advertising, statistics show that radio yields an exceptional return. If you consider the cost of one prime print advert on the front page of a daily newspaper, or the huge cost of even one TV ad spot, it becomes clear that unless you have an unlimited budget, radio could be a key asset for your business. High repeat and recall. A key aspect of successful advertising is being able to repeat your message often and create high recall and memorability. Radio allows for both. Again, due to radio advertising's cost-effectiveness, repeating a message frequently enough is not out of reach of most advertisers. And the ability to do this leads to extremely high recall levels for the associated investment. Highly segmented offering. Instead of spraying your message everywhere and hoping it reaches your audience, you can target them specifically and be much more effective. Ability to tell stories. People today are not satisfied with standard promotion-driven advertising. To afford you a share of their time, they demand that you engage them, entertain or tell them a good story in return for their attention. Radio offers a great medium through which to do so. Humor and stories are often sought by listeners as a source of distraction from their day, while the ability to inject a unique tone of voice and ambience through music is key. Tracking ability. Radio advertising has a tracking ability which allows you to see if the ad is being effective on a daily and weekly basis. The great thing here is that you can easily move your radio ad to a different radio slot if the results are not satisfied within the period that you have set. Limited spots. Everyone wants to get their ad aired during peak times. It can get difficult to secure yourself a spot in these slots. It is vital to work with an agency that has relationships in the radio industry and will be able to negotiate to get you onto the prime spots. Low production cost. No hair and make-up cost, no lights, camera, action costs on elaborate sets and all the other costs that go into creating a television commercial. Targeted reach. Knowing which radio station your target audience listens to will allow you to get your message to them effectively and frequently. Linking your radio ad to a competition. This way you can get great listener engagement. Listeners can call in to participate in the competition and as a result, remember your ad. Lack of visual appeal. Radio makes use of just one sense, hearing, meaning that your ad has to be so effective that it stirs up the imagination of the listeners and evokes emotions. Reach your audience anywhere. Radio is the only mass medium that people use while driving, cleaning the house, or out in the garden. TV advertising requires people to sit in front of their TV. Print ads and online media requires focused attention on the page or your screen. But you can listen to the radio while doing other things. Thank you for watching the video and subscribe the channel.